Hi, this is Darrell White with Carte Blanche Media, and I have as my guest today Amy Hughes Hinerman. She is an author, writer, and editor. Amy, it is a pleasure to have you here today. Could you do me a favor and just tell me a little bit more about yourself?
Well, I was born and raised in Phoenix, so I know this city very well. I lived in Kansas City, though, for 26 years, and that came to a screeching halt. I came back home in 2014 and started life over. So it's been a learning curve since 2014, like you can't believe, but I'm very happy to be where I am and have done what I've done in the last several years as far as pursuing my dream of writing finally. So that's it. I mean, I have a lot, more I could tell, but that's it in a nutshell.
Sure, we'll probably go over that there a little bit. So, how'd you get started with writing professionally then?
Well, when I lived in Kansas City, I lived in a kind of a unique small city, and they had a monthly newspaper. And I've always wanted to write humor. I was brought up with a lot of humor, and my father was a successful author, and he was the funniest guy on earth. And so I asked the editor if I could just try a humorous column or two. And she said, okay, sure. So we did try it. And then after a few months, I started thinking, I'm not sure I'm going to come things every month that's funny about this town that I live in. So she said, well, how about if I pay you? So I said, oh, well, let me rethink that. And it went on for 9 years monthly. And it
Wow.
was very popular. Yeah. And it was just the craziest column. People loved it. And then I moved back here and I knew I couldn't keep it up anymore. So I did a big farewell piece. And I kind of miss it. But that's how every month I learned how not to embarrass myself completely in front of all these people that I know in this city and edit and just make sure things made sense. And I don't think I started out that great, to be honest, but after 9 years of doing this monthly, I feel like, okay, I can actually say that I'm an author because even though there was very little money involved, but that's often the case with writers. So, I could say, hey, I did that and I got a ton of experience that way and people loved it. So then, when I moved back here, I kind of let it go for a while and, got my grounding on my new life. And then I started working for a referral network company, the 101 Referral Network that you know.
Yep.
And I worked for Brian Newman for about 3 years, doing his social media and helping him grow his business, which it did by leaps and bounds. I mean, you see it now; it's crazy. So, but I realized it was time to get a little more serious than just social media. So, in the meantime, I started taking a ton of classes on Udemy, which
I
are
love that.
fantastic. Oh, Udemy is fantastic. I took maybe 20 classes on Udemy. I went to school. I finished. I graduated from community college at my ripe old age.
And you kind of might have already touched on it a little bit here, but what has kind of been the biggest challenge since you got started there?
Oh man, I think the biggest challenge is just getting work that is steady. I do have some steady clients now, but their needs are not all the time. Like one of them is a quarterly magazine that I'm proofreading, which it's quarterly. So there's that. And then some quarterly newsletters and that kind of thing, or else it hits all at once like a book. So just finding something that, isn't a lowball offer and that I want to stick with that's steady has been the biggest challenge, I think.
And you probably already touched on this too here, but you talked about a couple of your successes. What has been your biggest success there so far?
Oh, my biggest success, which has not much to do with copywriting, but I kind of think of writing as all as one big umbrella, is getting into a Chicken Soup for the Soul book in September of 2021 because it's nearly impossible to get in. They accept 101 stories for over 3,000 submissions per issue. So that blew my mind, and it went all over the world. It's just such a huge book. It's published in over 40 languages, and it was just a real personal story about my cat. And I thought about I didn't realize how big it was until I actually got in, and then I go to Walmart and there it is on the bestseller wall, and I just teared up. I thought, this is just crazy. People
Awesome.
all over the world are reading about my cat. So that was pretty cool. And then I got in again. So I will be in an issue about getting out of your comfort zone. And that'll come out next year. And it's about running a 10K on my 60th birthday. So I was amazed that I got in again. So that's been my biggest. I mean, I was floating on air. It's just amazing.
Do you have kind of a favorite book or a favorite podcast, or is that kind of not your thing?
No, I really zoomed in on Udemy. I've taken so many classes there. Okay. And just anything online, YouTube. Udemy, I would say, if anybody wants any advice on Udemy, it would be to not buy anything when it's got this ridiculous price tag of like $180 or $200, because they'll go right down to $12 within days. So stick to that, and also get ones that are really meaty, like the ones that I've taken. I wrote down Alan Sharp, who is just, he's the man. He does a 30-hour copywriting course that I think I got for like $15. Wow. Yeah. And so if it's an hour and a half, you don't want to pay for that. You could just look at stuff up online for, you don't need to do that. So get ones that are big and hefty. Or
makes sense.
Yeah, that's a great source. And I could give you names of people that I have found to be realistic. Sometimes you get caught up in people that just make these enormous promises that your life is going to change within 6 months. You'll be making $100,000 a month and all this. Not so much. So anyway, I have several names of people, if anyone is, and then there's a guy named Shani Raja, who does an incredible a couple of editing classes that are very meaty and long. He's a master. Then there's a guy named Rob Parnell, who is very down to earth, and I tend to, try to weed out the ones that aren't down to earth. And he's very, very down to earth. So he's been great, and he's funny. And there's another young lady named Tamsin Henderson, and she's British. She's very lighthearted with her copywriting. So those are the ones that I have migrated towards. Like I said, there are plenty that, right off the bat, if, they're going to say that you're going to make all this money and it's like untapped and blah. I wish that were true, but, it takes hard work and, like anything else.
No, understood. And you kind of mentioned that YouTube or video resources maybe outside of Udemy. Are there any kind of YouTube channels that you kind of watch on a regular basis that kind of are helpful for you, or?
Not really. I just pretty much go back and refresh, because I have like 26 classes that I took. So when I feel like I need to, I just go back and reflect on some of those and just skip around with those. And really, I'm more of a visual person. And so that's been my deal.
Understood. Very cool. And what would you say is kind of the most impactful piece of advice that you could give to somebody who's looking to improve their writing skills right now?
I like to write humor. And so that doesn't plug in absolutely everywhere, but I am able to do a lot of other stuff besides humor. But if you feel like you have something in that where your life experience has brought you to that point and you feel like you can write in a certain genre, then stick with it. I've learned that humor and writing in a lighthearted fashion with copywriting has been getting more and more popular. And the things that you see out there these days are very, out there, and very, there's a lot of like culture involved, like pop culture, trendy words, that kind of thing that you wouldn't think would be popular in copywriting, but if you plug in, you will see a lot of stuff that you think, wow, 5 years ago, I don't even think they could have gotten away with it. But yeah, just stick to what you know best. And also don't fall, like I mentioned, don't fall for the big immediate dream the hard way. That's not really where you should plug in. There are people that will talk a big storm about that. And then you can usually tell the others that are a little more down to earth. Like I do watch on YouTube, since I've created these puzzle books, these word search books. I went through a plethora of people online doing that. And it's the minute they say, how to make $70,000 in your first month, well, I just move on to the next one. But there are people that are really genuine, that I do like to listen to. I think that would probably be my best advice. I'm lucky that I don't work full time, another job. I think that would be pretty tough to do this. I mean, it can be done, but I think it'd be pretty tough to do this. I mean, I do some other part-time stuff, but I don't have an 8 to 5 grind. So I'm lucky in that regard. So however you can save yourself some time in the learning process and just not to go down, a road that is not going to suit you well, I guess that would be it.
Great. I got 2 more questions for you here. Next question is kind of a little bit tricky, but like I'd love to get your opinion on this. How do you feel about like apps like ChatGPT and Bard in regards to the writing profession? Are they helping, hurting?
Yeah.
Like, what's your opinion?
Oh, I know, that's such a weird thing, isn't it? I've kind of dabbled, and I realize that for me, I don't feel threatened in any way because of my style of writing with humor and lightheartedness and a conversational tone. You just can't come up with that stuff with ChatGPT. But I've also seen some stuff that like, wow, that's really pretty helpful to someone who's just writing some basic type of copy. But I don't think it's necessarily good news for copywriters as a whole. That that somebody could just do this and not have to hire them, I think.
And last but not least, how can people get a hold of you and learn more about you?
Oh, hey, that's a good one. Well, here's my email. It's Amy Hughes Edits @gmail.com. And that is Amy Hughes Hinerman, author, writer, editor.
Absolutely. Well, Amy Hughes Hinerman, thank you so much for taking the time today. I really appreciate it.
It was fun.
And you have a great rest of the day.
Okay, Darrell. Thank you. You too.
All right, thanks. All right.
Okay,
bye.
Bye.